Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our Focus on Success with Cloudingo. Today, we're going to be covering converting leads. So there are three type of convert options available, and I'm going to discuss the order of operation that those should be run in. The first is the lead to contact. That is the one that we covered in our last session. This is the conversion type that you should be running first in your order of operation. This is a dedupe filter, so you'll locate this type of filter under the dedupe dashboard. It is a mass convert option, and what this filter type allows you to do is find existing leads and match them up with any existing contacts in your org. And you really want to find those matches first and convert into the existing contacts so that you're not accidentally creating a new contact with one of the other convert filters later. So in most cases, before you run your conversion filters, you're going to probably want to run through your lead merge filters and your contact merge filters and your account merge filters first to make sure that you have a clean set of data within the object that you're about to convert or convert into. If you don't and you get out of order, it's usually okay because eventually those things will merge. So if you have a lead that matches up to two existing contacts, it'll just convert into the first one it finds, and eventually those two contacts will merge together with one of your dedupe filters. So usually it all works out in the end, but the recommended order is to do your merges first and then run your conversions after that so that it's just a cleaner process. All right, and then the second order of operation would be your lead to account dedupe mass convert. And we'll be covering that today. So what this particular filter does is it will find and convert existing leads into new contacts under existing accounts. The last option, the third convert option that we offer is a lead to contact and account, which is our data maintenance mass convert. It's a different dashboard. This one is less commonly used and it is optional. You may not even need this convert option. But this option is there if you need to find and convert existing leads or specific leads. Say the leads meet a certain threshold and your organization wants to automate the sales conversions, not the duplicate conversions, but the actual sales conversions, so that it's creating new contacts and accounts once it reaches that threshold. So in this particular case, we're typically assuming that neither the contact or the account exists and that you need to create both. So let's just go through and touch briefly on the lead to contact. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this today because we just covered this in a webinar last session. If you need this webinar though, we do have it recorded and you can access that from our webinars link on the help site. So just ping us if you need a link to that. But basically, as I mentioned, this is leads with this existing contacts that should be converted before all of other convert filters to prevent creating a new contact, which can create a duplicate contact. So, an example of this would be maybe you want to create a filter that matches on the lead's name plus email to find any matching contacts that have the same name and email address. With the lead to contact, just like with our merge filters, we do have an automation rule available, and a lot of people do utilize that. Automation rule is actually required. You can also set up field rules. So if you don't set up any rules at all, as far as field rules, will default to the normal standard Salesforce conversion. So we'll honor your Salesforce native field mappings. So if you have field mappings configured, we'll still abide by those. But if you wanted Cloudingo to give you more flexibility on how you want to handle specific fields, the default is to always retain the contact value unless you have a Cloudingo rule configured. So you would only need to set up field level automation rules if you wanted to deviate from that, to ensure that you're getting either the newest record value or whether that be the lead record or the contact, or if you needed to combine values or apply some kind of logic. Lead to account dedupe mask convert filter. This is going to be run after you finish your lead to contact conversion. So you've cleaned up all the leads that already have a matching contact. Now we're going to go through and see what's left of your leads that need to be converted that might have a matching account already in the system. Once you get all of your filters, your convert filters set up and ready to go, you would just want to schedule your lead to contact filters to run maybe an hour or 30 minutes, however long it typically takes to complete, before you schedule your lead to account filter to run. So if you run them out of order, most of the time it's not going to be that huge of a deal. Either your Salesforce native or maybe a third-party duplicate blocking system, if you have rules in your Salesforce org running to block duplicate entries, you may actually see some error messages come through during the conversion process that are preventing the conversion. And if that's not the case, let's say you have your duplicate blocking disabled or whatever, the worst case scenario is it would go ahead and create a duplicate contact, because at this stage, when you're doing a lead to account dedupe filter, we're not looking at the contacts here. We're assuming you've already run through your lead to contact filters first. And we're only looking for account matches, and we're going to create a new contact once we find an account match. So worst case scenario, it could actually create a duplicate contact, but most likely that's not going to be a huge problem for most people, because if you have contact merge filters scheduled to run, then they'll get cleaned up with your merge filters afterward. So, and then filters can be configured using much more complex criteria using your dedupe lead to account, rather than the data maintenance convert. With our data maintenance convert, we do have the ability to do a basic search on account name only. When you're doing it with the dedupe filter, you can actually expand that criteria a bit more than just the name. Street, city, state, those additional field criteria could make a huge difference in where the contact should reside. So if you need that more complex criteria rather than just the account name match, you would definitely want to use the lead to account dedupe filter to do your conversion, rather than the dedupe mask convert. You might want to build a filter that is matching on the lead company name, maybe the lead city and the lead state, versus the account name, account city and state. So, and I'll show you an example of this filter and how that's configured in just a moment. The lead to account dedupe it does also require an automation rule for the same reasons we require it for lead to contact. Even if you do not have field rules configured or need field rules configured, we do have to have the automation rule there, to get your default settings like the lead convert status, whether you want to create an opportunity or task or things like that. So it does have to have an automation rule assigned. The difference between the lead to account and the lead to contact is that your field rules if you do decide to create some field rules in your lead to account automation rule, it is actually going to update your account field data with every lead conversion you do into that account. It does not control the contact field data. Your Salesforce field mappings at that point would control what gets set on the contact because the contact doesn't exist yet. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into Cloudingo really quick, and I'll show you the dedupe lead to account. So Cloudingo does come preset with one lead to account filter, I believe, but you can also create a new one under the Actions menu. When you get into creating a new filter under Actions, for the filter operation, you would just choose Convert. Your source object would be lead, and then for the target object, in this case, would be account. And I'm going to create a filter matching on, it's going to be a lead to account, matching on name, city, and state. And I only have one rule right now for my lead to account, so I'll just leave it set to the default rule. And then for the fields to match on, this is where I'm going to set up my matching criteria. If you want to search, you can search, or you can just drag and drop it from the main list. I also want the city, and I want to match the state. All right, and then for the company, I'm going to map this to the account field. I want it to match the account name. And I could use company clean, but in this case, I'm just going to do an exact match. I don't care if it's upper or lowercase. For city, I'm going to match to billing city using exact match here. And I don't care about case sensitivity here. And then for the state, I'm going to use the billing state for the account match. So my lead has to match the billing state using exact, ignore case, and I'm going to enable synonym matching for the state there so that if I have one spelled out, one abbreviated, I can still find the match. I don't want to limit my records or groups, but if I needed to, that scope criteria, just like with your merge filters, is there and available. So I hit save and run so I can just calculate the filter results, and filter number 10 is calculating. While that's running, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the automation rules so you can see it. I just need to toggle over to the convert rules when I get into the manage rules section. And I can edit my default lead to account rule to get into the settings for that. Group fields is going to work very similarly to your merge automation rule. Tab 3 is where most of the work is done here. So you would want to go through and specify how you want your ownership assigned. So the default is to assign all newly created contacts to the account owner, but we do have the option to assign the contacts to their respective lead owners as well. If you don't change anything here, it'll just be set to the default, which is the account owner. Here's where you can set up your field rules, and the target object would be your account fields. So you can see these are all my account fields that I can map to the lead fields, and I could set up rules just like my merge or lead to contact automation rule. See, here's on my source object, these are my lead fields. I personally would not ever want to set up any rules to override my existing account data with my lead data, but if you have reason to do that, then you could definitely set up some field rules here to do that. For the exceptions, you can still set up automation exceptions within your lead to account conversions. In tab 4, this is where you can specify your converted status for the lead. And this is where you set the default that Cloudingo will use for all of the converts. And of course, you have your other convert options to create opportunity, to send emails to owners, or create a task, which you can default. We default them to not do any of that stuff because it's typically a dedupe and you wouldn't want to do that. Of course, you would want to preview the results, just like with the merge filters or any other filters. Always check your filter results for accuracy. You want to spot check. Mine is a very small result set. I only have 8 groups in here because this is a test org, but you would definitely want to spot check more than a few, to make sure that the lead is properly connecting to the correct account, and that this would be a good, safe conversion. Because once I run this lead that's on the right-hand side, so the lead is showing on the right, this is the account on the left. Once I convert this lead is going to become a converted lead, and it will go away, and then this will create, and this record will become a contact underneath this account. So you definitely want to just, scroll through, spot check the address if you need to, or any other relevant information. Spot check more than a couple records to make sure that what you're seeing is good and valid and safe. Check the address, spot check it, whatever criteria makes sense to you. Then you can do a select all and mass convert directly from this page. You can also, I mean, not that you would want to do this, but you can load one specific group and hit continue at the bottom and just convert it manually, like just set the converted status and all of your options here and convert them one at a time. That would take forever if you had a lot of results in your filter. So the most common thing would be to just go back to your filter and start automation from the filter menu, or you could just schedule it from the filter menu. And scheduling, you'd be able to do it daily or weekly, or in the data maintenance side, you can even do it hourly. So now let's go into the mass convert leads on the data maintenance side. So this is the optional conversion option, and this is the one that you would run kind of at the end after you've already run through your dedupe, lead to contact, and lead to account filters. You want to run through those because you want to prevent duplicate blocking errors or duplicate contacts from getting created. This allows you to filter out specific leads for conversion. And then, as I mentioned before, the data maintenance convert is designed to create new contacts and new accounts. With this filter type, you do not have to have an automation rule. It is not required under the mass convert leads. So you'll specify what account you want to convert into or how you want to create the account. You'll have the ability to set ownership assignment, and you can set the defaults for this status and the optional settings. Now, we do have a mass convert option available in our update unique records filter as well. This new mass convert leads option is kind of replacing that, but within the update unique records, there is a mass convert option as well. And in some cases, if you're using that older style of convert, then you may be required to use an automation rule for that. And we do have some webinar and documentation if you're using the update unique records mass convert rather than the new mass convert section, which we're about to cover in just a second. Field rules in your automation rule do not ever apply because the contact and account are assumed to be newly created. So in all instances with your conversions, using data maintenance, it's going to use your Salesforce field mappings only. All right, so in Cloudingo, under your dashboard menu, We're going to move away from the dedupe and we're going to go to data maintenance dashboard. And under actions, you'll create a new job. And here is the mass convert leads option. Your object type is always going to be lead. And I'm just going to give this a name. I'm just going to call it convert new leads. I'm just going to convert qualified leads. I'm going to make this a very generic filter. But you can make the criteria whatever makes sense for your organization. Just like with any of our other data maintenance filter types, you can either build the criteria out using the field and values, or you can use an existing report. So if you already have a Salesforce report built that tells you which leads need to be converted, you could definitely use the Salesforce report. Just make sure that your report is including the Salesforce record ID for those leads. Or you can just do the selected criteria and build out the filter like our other filters. And in this case, I'm just going to use the lead status. I'm going to filter out any leads that have a qualified status. So status is equal to qualified, and that are newly created. So like the last week. So greater than or equal to. I have all kinds of different date options here. If I'm going to schedule this though, I could probably do it with X number of days. So let's say I wanted to just run this filter every week. I could do X every 7 days ago. I do still have the ability to update fields on the record. So if I set an update on here, the only thing that we have to update is the lead. But if you need to set a value, you could set a field to update on the lead. And as long as it's mapped in Salesforce, it will carry over. But the fields to update here is always going to update the lead immediately prior to the conversion. And then the what actions do you want to perform is where you specify what you would normally specify and some of the settings in your automation rule. But because we're kind of getting away from dedupe, we want to not have to use an automation rule. So here you can see I can choose the lead company name if I want that to be the account name. And that was actually my default, so I didn't have to actually set that. But what this is asking here is it's saying when I convert a lead into the new contact and account, what do you want? How do you want the lead to get created? Do you want it to go into a new account using the lead company name, which is the default? I could also just type in a physical company name. So I'm just going to say holding company. But if I had an account called holding company, and I know that this subset of leads is all going into holding company, I could just physically type in the account name instead of using a lookup to the lead company name. Or we do have a convert lead to existing account option. And this isn't really, I would not use this as a replacement for your dedupe lead to account filter because we're only looking at name here. We're not looking at any other criteria, just the name, which is usually not enough. What this is for is if you have 20 leads within the same job that belong to the same company, and you want them all to get created under the same company at the same time, it's to prevent us from creating 20 different accounts with the same name. Now, if you don't know if those leads and accounts have different locations, but that would be determined after the conversion based on the data that's on the lead and what gets created on the account based on your Salesforce mappings. You might choose to just create new accounts on all of them and then merge them using more extensive criteria after the fact. This is all going to depend on your business and how your data is coming in and how you structure your account naming conventions. But you could also set the lead company name. So even if you said convert the leads into an existing account using the lead company name. So it's going to find to see if anything exists with that account name already. The next portion just beneath that is going to say, if an existing account is not found with this name, then I want to go ahead and create a new account using the lead company name or whatever you have specified above right here. Now, if you go down just a tiny bit, you'll see that here we have the owner assignment. The default is to assign it to the respective lead owner because remember, we don't have an account owner yet because the account doesn't exist. So the only owner we really have at this point is the lead owner. You may run into issues with this if the lead is assigned to a queue, because your lead, if it's assigned to a queue owner can't be assigned to a contact. So just be aware of that. You may have to set up some owner mappings or clean up your ownership beforehand. The other options would be to assign the owner to the Cloudingo owner, which is the owner tied to Cloudingo, establishing the connection, or any specified owner. So, and then of course we have the converted, let's see, we have the converted status, which also pulls from the same place that the lead to account dedupe automation role status pulls from. So your lead status options. Same thing would apply if you had a customized status that you wanted to exclude from your convert reports. You could still choose that option from this drop down. And then your create opportunity, send email to owner, and create task option defaults are here as well, plus the create note. So when you hit save and run, that's going to just calculate the filter results. And then we'll be able to preview it, just like with our dedupe. Okay, so if I click on review and edit, and I click on the blue arrow anywhere on one of these records, it can just check it for accuracy and make sure that it is one that I would for sure want to convert into a new contact and account. So when I convert this based on my settings, it is going to create a new account called OBA, and I'll have a new Aaron Gibson contact created underneath that account. I can either do a mass convert here, or I can do an update, load one group and hit the update or update and load next option at the bottom to do them one at a time, or mass convert one page at a time here, or like I mentioned, if you have a bunch of records to update at once, it's easiest just to go back and start automation from the dashboard filter, or you can schedule it to run. And that concludes our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this helped you out. Our next session will be January 8th, and we'll be discussing how record values get chosen. And that's going to be taking a look at our actual automation role. So I hope you will join us for that session, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.